Hey everybody! This week we have a chunk of butternut. This came from one of my friend's house and I've had it for a couple years. I cut most of it up into blanks and sealed the ends with anchor seal. I don't really know why I didn't take the pith out of both sides of this unless, you know, just in a hurry. Was trying to save material, I don't know, but obviously this is causing some issues. We've got some funky stuff going on here. A little bit of a bark inclusion there. And some splitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another little cookie jar, canister, biscuit bucket thing. I did one for us that the Beagle biscuits live in. Decided that I was going to make another one, but maybe a little bit different. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is just slice some off of the ends this way and see how far in this cracking goes. And then I'll bring it back and we'll look at it again and see what we think we can do. I'm planning to orient this in cross grain fashion and bowl fashion. So basically when I say that, what that means, this is how the tree was growing, right? So this is the pith of the tree, this would be growth rings, this is like half of it. So the bark was probably out here. So when you mount something spindle grain orientation, you mount it so that the grain, which is running up and down when the tree is alive, and when it's being turned, it's running parallel to the bed ways. So the grain runs this way, same as this. And that's for spindle turnings. When you're doing a bowl or a cross grain turning, and not all bowls are done this way, but most of them are, you're actually mounting it so that the grain, like if this were still the tree growing up and down, runs perpendicular to the lathe bed. Anyway, I'll quit talking and I'm going to go just take a few slices off of this, bring it back, and then we'll look at it. I guess it could be a short one. It can be, you know, round, good size this way, and a little bit short. In which case, let's see, which way do I want facing up? I guess I'll make it so that the growth rings are coming up. Just seems more reasonable that way. In which case that means this will be the top, this will be the bottom. So I might just try to slice this off relatively evenly, and then I'll mount this just on a woodworm screw, yes. It's never going to seem right. Just get rid of all this stuff that shouldn't really be there. And then I'll shape it on the lathe. So that's what I'm going to try right now. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, I have a nice flat spot for that to sit. Did I just do that upside down? I did, didn't I? Well, I guess we're going to do it this way. But that's not how I wanted to do it. But now I have a big hole in the bottom. Ah! Alright, oh well. Is what it is now. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, this whole project is just a fiasco. Um, it's a lot smaller than it should have been. When I cut the slice off of it earlier and then marked it for center, I didn't really mark it for center. I just did 2 lines, and so I lost probably close to an inch in diameter there. And then I put the hole for the wormwood screw on the wrong side, which means that I have to come back now and cut out this big bark inclusion piece that's on the top. So I'm losing some depth here that I didn't need to. I did the actual turning for this part of the pot back in May, and I only just a couple of weeks ago finished up the rest of it and got the lid and the finial and everything done. So this has been a long time coming, and it was really one of those projects that I just sort of screwed up every step of the way. And, you know, sometimes that happens. They work out in the end, so I have to remind myself that, you know, it's going to be something. It might not be what I thought it was going to be or what I wanted it to be, but it will be something. And the editing of this project has been just as big a fiasco. I've been having some kind of weird glitchy things with the editing program that I use. I somehow lost the video recording of making the lid and the finial, which I guess in this case isn't a huge deal because I'm not going to end up using the lid that I made for this box. And then I broke the finial, so I had to do those 2 things over anyway. So I guess it's irrelevant, but you know, it's just been one of those projects all the way around. The squealy noises, or what Stuart Batty likes to call the bowl singing, I believe that's coming from the cracks that I've still got in the bowl. I think it's from the vibration. Both of my chucks have a set screw that locks on the spindle, and that way I can put the lathe in reverse. And I do that frequently when I'm working on this kind of a calabash style bowl or something that's got an undercut rim like that, because I can't get around to the other side of my lathe because of where it is in my shop. If I put the lathe in reverse, I can work on the opposite side and I can see a lot better. So when I'm using one of these scrapers, sometimes I'll use the 600 grit CBN wheel, and sometimes I'll just use this carbide rod, flatten whatever little bit of the burr might be left so you can't feel anything. And then Robo Hippie says about 5 degrees off of the bevel, so I just eyeball it. No idea if it's close or not, but you can feel when you get a burr on there. out a little too far over the edge there of the tool rest. At this point, I'm pretty much done shaping, and I'm using Starbond medium thick brown CA glue to fill in the cracks that are remaining. Once that dried, I sanded it up to 400. I blew all the dust off and wiped it down with denatured alcohol, and then I put a 1 pound cut of shellac inside and outside. And to round out my normal finishing process, I'm using Brad's abrasive sanding paste, and then we're going to use Brad's tongue honey. That's already looking pretty sweet with just the sanding paste done. I can't wait to see when we get the tongue honey on it. In keeping with the fiasco theme, I'm also missing a bunch of footage from the finishing stages of this. So you guys have seen me use the tongue honey before. You put it on, I use a white Scotch Brite pad, and then you let it sit for at least a couple of hours, longer if you can, and then you come back and buff it. So we're going to have to just gloss over that part too, because I don't know what happened to that, but you've seen that before. I was able to find a screenshot of me getting ready to take the tenon off. I don't have a set of coal jaws or like a Longworth chuck, so I just have a big piece of 3/4 inch plywood mounted to a faceplate, and then I've got shelf liner on it for grip and cushion, and I just use it basically like a jam chuck. I made a lid in a finial for this little pot, and this was a different piece of butternut than I made the base out of, and it looked weird. You know, the values were too close, so I decided that I was going to make a different lid and ebonize it. I did the ebonizing of this walnut lid in my last Workshop Wednesday video, so I'll put a link to that up in the top corner and also in the description, so you can check that out if you missed it. I definitely like that better. Let me grab the other one. I just didn't like the difference in color, and then this is obviously, this was a piece of kind of wormy butternut, and I just didn't like the way that it looked with it. So I'll hold on to this and use that for a different project, and this one can go with that. Yeah, I can't ever figure out where to put this thing. Well, as they say, all's well that ends well. I want to thank you guys for watching. I know that my video schedule has been a little sporadic these days. It's always hard in the summertime when we're busy getting ready for and doing art fairs. So I'm hoping to get back to a more regular schedule in the fall. Although I am having shoulder surgery in November, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm getting ready to hit 15,000 subscribers, which is pretty much still just crazy talk. I'll have to start thinking about what we're going to do for a giveaway. Until next time, you all be safe out there. What you doing, Squirt? Is she back there looking at birds? And we're supposed to be walking. What are you doing? Are you a hot dog? Are you a hot boy? Hi. Hi. We did about 5 miles on the NCT this morning, and it was almost enough to wear out the beagle.